Welcome to the Devotionables, brief devotions for busy people. My name is Josh Wilson. I'm a pastor at Storyline Church in St. Louis, Missouri, one of your mission partners at 9th and O. And I have the privilege of continuing your series in the Psalms of Ascent. Today, we're going to consider Psalm 126. This March, the city of Louisville experienced a joy that had been lacking there for about 6 years because the Louisville Cardinals were back in the NCAA tournament. A drought that likely felt almost like eternity in Louisville was finally over. Joy finally returned to the Cardinal faithful. In Psalm 126, the nation of Israel was experiencing a joy like this, but on steroids. Israel was returning from captivity. And what we find is this psalm is the joy relived and reimagined that they had. So let me read it for us and then we can dive in. Here's Psalm 126. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We were joyful. Restore our fortunes, Lord, like watercourses in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Though one goes along weeping, carrying the bag of seed, we will surely come back with shouts of joy, carrying his sheaves. What we see in this passage is that there is joy relived and there is joy reimagined. In the first three verses, we see that the joy is relived. The psalm begins in awe of God's faithfulness to them. He has restored their fortunes. As they had left the promised land in captivity, they have been restored back to the land that was promised to them. Their laughter and their joy were so real that the nations could hear it. That's what we find in verse 3. The Lord had done great things for us, and we were joyful. They said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The practice that we can find here is that remembering rekindles the joy of God. What had happened for them, the things that had happened in recent past, God's faithfulness to them, they were able to recount that. They were able to look back on it, and joy was restored by remembering all that God had done throughout their life in their history. So here's the invitation for us. We need to practice remembering. Would you take 5 minutes over the course of the next couple of days, five minutes for each day, to think back on God's faithfulness to you? As you take that 5 minutes, would you take 5 minutes to write down the ways that he has been faithful to you in the recent years? Maybe it's 3 to 5 years. Maybe it's the 6 years since March Madness had come and gone. May we be a people that remember what God has done and his faithfulness to us. As you make out that list, after you're done, take at least a few minutes just to thank God for what he has done in terms of his faithfulness to you, his prayers that have been answered in your life. The joy that you've seen in working through books of the Bible, the community that he's provided for you at 9th and O Baptist Church, the people that have come to salvation, whatever it may be, remember God's faithfulness to you and then take your thankfulness to him in prayer. This is a way of showing gratitude. And here's what you can expect, that he will relive your joy, that he will provide a joy inside of you for the way that he's been at work in your life. That gratitude makes you a stable person. What we find in verses 4 through 6 is that joy is also reimagined. The Israelites live in the tension between past redemption and future restoration. God has restored Israel from exile. However, the temple doesn't quite match the beauty of their imagination. We experience kind of that similar tension. We are the people that live between what is now the experience of salvation, but also the not yet. We don't experience in full what we know is going to be our future reward, which is being with God in his presence in resurrected bodies in a beautiful land where there's no longer effect of sin. So we live in the now, but not yet. We experience in part, but one day we will experience in full. We want to live in this tension in a godly way. We want to thank him for the ways that we've experienced his salvation, but yet at the same time, as Israel yearned for the day that they would experience the beauty that they had imagined in their minds, we want to be the same people that live with that same hopeful anticipation. So right now, that means we get to thank God, as we've just talked about, for the ways that he's been faithful to us, for the ways he's working in our life, but we also at the same time want to live into our future reality. So what are the ways, here's some application for you, where in your life do you experience the tension between the now and the not yet? That you experience maybe the growth that God is producing in your life, but the things that you want to see him bring to completion, and then bring those to the God and ask him to partner with you through the power of God's Spirit inside of you. Take 5 minutes just to think about, what in my life do I want to match and look more like Jesus, and then ask for his strength and start sowing those seeds, just as Israel talks about, to where you can then reap the harvest with him as you walk with him throughout the course of life. Here's our hope: that Jesus ascended. This is a story, a psalm of ascent. Jesus ascended to the right hand of God. That's our assurance that Jesus will one day descend back to us, and he'll bring the hope of our salvation along with him. Join him in the work of sanctification now, and look forward with expectation to the glorification that we will experience with him. God bless.